Freilich and Chanukah, everyone. Good evening. It is Sunday evening, December 5th. And unbelievably, there was about a week or two ago where there was a conclusion made by a number of forecasters that on December 5th, or just about December 5th, there was going to be really the beginning of the winter season. A strong storm system was expected to move through the Midwest and the Northeast. Now, especially the Midwest. Very cold air behind the storm system was expected to settle in. This is actually what's happening. I know a lot of meteorologists have expressed disappointment about this system, but I don't know if they really understand what's going on over here. We have a strong storm system over in North Dakota as of this morning, producing heavy snow across northern Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, and eventually it's going to be moving into northern Michigan if it hasn't already by this morning. 29.6 is the barometric pressure. It's not clear whether this storm is going to go through intensification or not, possibly even rapid intensification as it heads east, eventually going into southern Canada. The system is moving rapidly. One would think how much snow could possibly accumulate when you have a system moving rapidly, but this storm system is a real powerhouse, producing 10 to 18 inches of snow in some of the locations in Michigan, 8 to 12 inches for areas in Minnesota and also Wisconsin. But even in Minnesota, there's going to be places which will be getting higher amounts. I saw that AccuWeather has some spots even going up to 2 feet of snow. This is certainly a heavy snow event, especially when you consider that this storm is moving more quicker than usual. On the southeast part of the storm system, we will be getting a development of thunderstorms as what usually happens in the springtime and even in the month of November. Although in this particular situation, it's taken a little bit longer for these storms to develop. Just a little bit. The Gulf moisture has finally moved up along the front. I would imagine there had to have been plenty of Gulf moisture available for the snowstorm. But there's another place where the moisture is also coming from in regards to the blizzard up in the northern Midwest. That's the Pacific Ocean. So they have a combination of Gulf moisture and Pacific Ocean moisture, and that's going to, along with the storm dynamics, it's going to be responsible for bringing all of that heavy snow. There are areas where there's even blizzard warnings in effect, and most of the areas, however, have winter storm warnings. The thing is that winds are expected to be strong and gusty ahead of the storm system. Then they're going to calm down for the upper Midwest as the actual center of the low pressure system moves through, almost like a hurricane, like the eye of the hurricane. And then, after the thing moves through, on the backside, the winds are going to pick up she'ein kamohu. The winds are we have wind advisories, high wind warnings. We have all different types of stuff. We have a wind advisory in effect here for Chicago. It's a strong cold front. The front associated with this storm system will be moving through the Chicago area tonight. Will be bringing the rain to an end, possibly some snow flurries expected after that. And then the Arctic air settles in for all of these areas. The real core of the cold is going to stay in southern Canada and the upper Midwest and northern plains. And wow, is it cold, with temperatures dropping. I saw some areas where the temperatures are expected to drop to the actual temperature 25 below zero. We have wind chill advisories in effect for parts of Montana, where wind chills will be dropping to 25 or 30 below zero. This is not the only place in the country where we have those wind chill advisories and warnings. But before we go on to discuss the other part of the country, which is getting those wind chill advisories and warnings, we're just going to talk a little bit about the southeast side, where there's a severe weather risk that's going to be taking place, especially in Memphis, Tennessee, Little Rock, Arkansas, and northern Louisiana. There's like that little triangle where that's the place where you really have to pay attention to most, because although there's a circular area, and any area within that area in Louisiana, Arkansas, and Tennessee could expect thunderstorms, possibly even severe, with strong damaging winds, especially since the storm dynamics will be taking full advantage of the strong winds which are just above the surface, bringing them down to the surface in large hail for sure. Whenever you have strong winds and you have temperatures it's not even the summer. Even in the summer, you would get large damaging hail, but this time of the year, They kind of go together. But Memphis, Tennessee in particular, and Little Rock, Arkansas in particular, has a tornado risk. There really is not much of a tornado risk, but the bullseye of this tornado risk goes through Memphis, Tennessee, Little Rock, Arkansas, and it's going to be in the middle of the night. So, it's very important for people to have a warning system. I always recommend the Weather Alert Radio. That's very good stuff for tornadoes. I think for the other purpose of the weather radio is for weather enthusiasts who just love to hear about exciting stuff. But for tornadoes, it really is important, especially in the middle of the night when there's a tornado risk in the middle of the night. That's something that those alarms are powerful, and those things are probably the safest way to go. You'll hear from a number of people living in the southern plains where they say that these radios have saved their lives. So these are very important to have. Also important to have the weather alert, not just the weather radio, the alert part where the National Weather Service sounds an alarm, which would actually wake you up in the middle of the night. Anyways, let's move on to discuss what's going to be happening after this. That strong front will be digging south and eventually making it to the Gulf Coast, but it's going to stall perhaps later tomorrow and then eventually start to move north as a warm front on Tuesday. Now, the reason why it's moving north is because of the next mysterious system that's moving into the Midwest, and ahead of these systems, winds become southerly. It's going to push that warm front up north, and we're going to see that warmer air start to move up north, probably just for places in Arkansas and Louisiana, maybe Memphis on Tuesday. It's not going to make it here in Chicago, that's for sure. It's not going to happen. In fact, here in Chicago, if anything happens, it's going to be snow. You know, at one time, there was a tremendous potential with this system, so they thought, of a solid 6 inches or more of snow. But the system is a little bit mysterious. There's still doubts this far out. It's not really that far out anymore. And there's still doubts in regards to what exactly is going to be happening with the system. It seems like, as of now, there's not really so much moisture with the system. On top of that, there's a lot of dry air on the surface. So even if precipitation does fall, which would be falling as snow here in Chicago, a lot of that snow will be evaporating before it touches the ground. So as of now, what we possibly can get out of the system will be the very first snowfall of the season. The very first measurable snowfall of the season is likely to take place, or certainly there's a possibility of it taking place here in the Chicago area, northern Indiana, and at places around here for Tuesday evening, maybe Tuesday night. That's really the most exciting part you could expect right now, is merely just a measurable snowfall. It doesn't seem like there's going to be anything too significant with this system as of now, but they still have unusual doubts, which, even though it's only 2 days away, even less than 2 days away. Now, so in response to the system, we have that front in the Gulf Coast moved back up north. We have a storm system that's going to be moving along the front, which is stationary pretty much on the Gulf Coast. That storm system is going to bring heavy rain to much of the Gulf Coast, so a half an inch to an inch, some areas more than an inch. Then it moves off to the southeast part of the United States. That storm system will be taking two possible tracks, and then there's two possible scenarios that can get set up for the East Coast. One of them would bring heavier precipitation to the coastal cities. No thunder except for Rhode Island, except for the Nantucket area, or Rhode Island also. Possibly some thunder over there. Not much snowfall, although there could be some snow just east of the Appalachians, and also especially in the western parts of New England. The other scenario brings the storm system over to the mid-Atlantic area and then pulls it way out to sea, in which case the precipitation will be lighter. Even in that case, there still could be some snow with that system. So there is a connection between that system and the storm system today in the upper Midwest. The connection really is, I believe, is that strong front that's going to be moving to the Gulf Coast from the storm system in the upper Midwest. And a front such as this is an ideal place for powerful storms to develop and just move along the front. And that's what's going to be happening over this week for the Gulf Coast, southeastern United States. And there's questions as to what's going to be happening on the East Coast as of now. Moving right along here, we said we're going to be talking about another area where there's wind chill warnings and wind chill advisories. I also want to point out, though, there's another two areas where there are blizzard warnings in effect, not just the upper Midwest. Okay? One of them is in Alaska. In Alaska, right? So blizzard warning, it's a little exciting. But when you hear the details of this blizzard warning, it's more than just exciting. It's a heart-racing experience. It sounds like a medrash. It's mamish like a medrash. 20 inches of snow overnight. At one point, another 20 inches. It's like a plop of just 20 inches over, what is this, like an 8-hour period. Later this week, total storm accumulations between this particular winter weather event for northeast Prince William Sound from this evening through Tuesday is expected to be 16 to 30 inches. But, the snow is just going to continue for most of the rest of the week, just light snow, but another night of 20 inches later on in the week. Alaska has been unusually cold over the past several weeks. It's not just it's been unusually cold, but there's been a lot of consistency, so much consistency that for many cities in Alaska, it's at its top. One second, someone's calling this thing. It's at its top. The top 5 coldest Novembers for many cities in Alaska. I see that someone's trying to call on the very same phone that I'm making this podcast, so I'm going to try to quickly bring this to an end. We're going to go over to the blizzard warning in Hawaii. The last time there's been a blizzard warning in Hawaii was 2018. We have a Kona low pressure system. This is a unique low pressure system. People should look into it. I wish I had more time to talk about it here on the podcast. It's a dangerous storm system where winds come from the opposite direction in Hawaii than what they usually come from, bringing a lot more tropical moisture to the Hawaii because winds are from the south instead of the east and northeast. It also affects the city in terms of the upslopes and the downslope precipitation of the mountains. They're occurring on the very opposite parts of the mountains than what they usually occur. So we're seeing a big change, and there's actually been a drought in Hawaii. Unbelievable. A drought in Hawaii, an island surrounded by ocean in the tropics. They're experiencing a drought, and this is going to be producing 6 to 12 inches of rain for much of Hawaii, including Honolulu, Hawaii, and the snow up to 8 inches of snow. But the blizzard warning, I wanted to go without sound effects, but we need it for this one. The blizzard warning, 8 inches. Why is there a blizzard warning? Let's go right now. Drum roll. Blizzard warning for 125 mile per hour wind gusts in Hawaii. In Alaska, we have up to 70 mile per hour wind gusts for that blizzard. And one final point, we have unseasonably warm air ahead of this storm system here in the southern plains. Amarillo, Texas is almost breaking a record, possibly even a record high. Rio Grande Village, Texas, Palm Springs, California, forecast high 86. As of an hour ago, it already was 87, and the record high 89 degrees. So we're certainly seeing unseasonably warm temperatures ahead of this storm system. Temperatures again 25 below zero. Here in the regular United States, not just Alaska, Fairbanks, Alaska, 50 below zero according to the National Weather Service of Fairbanks, Alaska, wind chills of 50 below zero. But in these places around Fairbanks, the winds are between 1 and 3 miles an hour. So wind chills of 50 below zero. And with that, I will be bringing this podcast to an end. I wish everyone a wonderful Hanukkah for the final day.